Not all those who wander are lost. Those are the words of J.R.R. Tolkien from his infamous book, Lord of the Rings. I think about that line often. My father is a diplomat, which meant that he would relocate every few years or so, with my mother and I following him. I'm currently 16 years old, and because of his job, I've had more major moves in my lifetime than I can count on my right hand. My entire life has simply just been me wandering. If not all those who wander are lost, then I must be one of the exceptional few, for I have felt nothing but lost. As many students will remember, in the beginning of the school year, we have those icebreakers to get to know each other better. I don't mind them. In fact, I love getting to know new people. I'd get asked my name, my favorite color, an exciting fact about myself, and then, where do I call home? I'm never quite sure how to respond. Are you referring to my nationality? Or where I was born? Or where I grew up? Or where I lived before? Or where I'm living now? Or where my parents were born? Or where my ancestors decades ago were from? For some of you, the situation can seem completely foreign and bizarre, but I know that to the others, who are so-called third culture kids, you understand that this can be a genuinely confusing experience. The term third culture kid was coined by an American sociologist in the 1950s, referring to children who spend their formative years in places that are not their parents' homeland. Third culture kids make an average of 8 major moves before their high school graduation. That's 8 major moves to different friend groups, cultures, and lifestyles. This is what sets third culture kids apart from adults, whose love for adventure compels them to travel. Instead of traveling after having a fully formed identity and worldview in one place, they travel during their identity formation, and thus travel begins to become their identity. And I know that it sure did for me. I had been on a plane before I could even learn how to walk. Maya Angelou writes, "The ache for home lives in all of us, the constant, safe place where we can go as we are not to be questioned." However, for some of us whose childhoods are scattered across the globe, home is but a tapestry of foreign memories. Being raised in a shifting environment meant that change was somewhat the only constant in my life. To me, home as we know it is but the many but always temporary stops on my rootless journey around the world. I oftentimes wonder whether my life could be different if I just grown up in one place, to live in a house with ruler marks beside the doorframe, to have a best friend that's known me since nursery, and to not feel like a tourist in a country that I'm supposed to embrace as my own. This ache for home is constant and insatiable. I want you to think of a flower. For a flower to flourish, it requires 4 things: sunlight, water, nutrients, and a place in the soil to plant itself into. If you were to consistently remove the flower from its soil and plant it in a completely foreign environment, it would struggle. It's not easy for it to adapt to the constant change. As a third culture kid, I very much felt like this flower. I felt limited as a person because I was always being placed in foreign environments. I felt unable to flourish because I couldn't adapt, and I felt unable to grow because aspects of myself were always being placed on hold every time I moved. I felt rootless, like a damaged flower, and because I could never feel at home anywhere, I could never be my best self. However, it hasn't all been that bad. Being exposed to multiple cultures from such a young age has taught me the meaning of many things. It's taught me the meaning of empathy, open-mindedness, and acceptance. It's taught me the appreciation of both cultural similarities and differences, adaptability, and the importance of valuing what you have. In reality, being a third culture kid simply means getting the best of both worlds. These were the lessons that I was only able to learn through my travel, and these were the lessons that allowed me to flourish into a better and unique human being. This is what defines my best self. Truth be told, the things that don't secure me to one place allow me to belong everywhere. I've come to realize that home does not always have to be a childhood house on the street you grew up on. As cliche as it sounds, I'm a firm believer in home is where the heart is. And I say this because my entire life, my current location has always been temporary, and instead, my sense of identity is attached to a feeling of emotional connection and belonging developed from places around the globe. The constant in my life is travel. Travel is my home, and I find comfort in that thought because it makes me realize that no matter how far travel takes me, the treasures I collect from them are the most important. My memories, my values, my friends, and my joys. These are parts of myself that I will never lose, not at any airport terminal, because I carry them with me. When I came back home after summer vacation to learn that my school's theme was Be Well and Flourish, it's needless to say that I panicked. Be well and flourish. That's a statement that never truly resonated with me. For the majority of my life, I never felt like I could do that because I didn't have a sense of identity that I could call my own. And frankly, it terrified me because I didn't want to feel this incomplete for the rest of my life. However, when I began to understand that the exposure travel gave me granted me the privilege of being able to choose my own identity, I regained a sense of direction in my life. Over the years, I've built something that is perhaps my greatest collection of pieces, each of which I've handpicked, choosing the best bits in order to create a whole. And even though my whole is an assemblage of different pieces, it is still a whole nonetheless. I've come to understand that to be well and to flourish is to understand that I will never be rootless and I will never truly be alone, because there are aspects of myself that are attached to places all around the world, and therefore, the world is my home. And with that, I want to challenge all third culture kids to take a step back and recognize the things you take away from your travel. They do not limit you, they create you, and they allow you to grow. I want you to realize that feeling rootless and as though you don't align with one home does not mean you do not belong to any one place. It simply means that you've chosen to belong to many. The moment you recognize that your unique identity does not make you incapable of growth or belonging is the moment you will begin to feel at peace. And most of all, I want you to remember the words of J.R.R. Tolkien, "Not all those who wander are lost. You are not one of the few exceptions. You are not lost." Thank you.